Oklahoma encounter. I'm a 16-year-old, and I'm not going to lie, I'm very hormonal. I and my girl sneak out into the woods when we can. Where she lives, there's a vacant house in the woods. It's surprisingly not abandoned, it's locked up and clean inside. We snuck in through a window. Last week I went over to visit her, and we went on our walk. We snuck in and did our usual. We were pretty into it when we heard voices coming from the front door. We froze and got ready to dip. We thought they were going to break in when we heard them unlocking the front door. We hid in the closet. Looking back, that was a really stupid move. They were talking about some ritual, and then we noticed them going into a door we never noticed. So basically in Oklahoma, from what I know, there are no basements in houses because the ground is mainly made up of clay. Clay swells and shifts, messing up the basement, which would eventually crumble and cause the house to fall into itself. We peeked around the corner and saw them going into the basement. My girl started silently sobbing. I started to comfort her when I heard the front door slam open and heard a young girl crying and begging. We heard one of them slap her. They dragged her into the basement, and at that moment, my girl started heaving and gasping. I only had my knife on me, I didn't know if they were armed. So I looked at her and told her we would make a beeline for the front door because the window is way too loud. We were about to go when we heard the girl scream, and then we heard this inhuman, deep growl. We heard her begging and sobbing. My girl, who's very overprotective of others, looked at me and said we need to help her. Now don't judge me for doing this, but I told her that girl is basically dead, let's use her screams, which will mask our escape so they can't hear us. My girl looked at me with the deepest fear I've ever seen another person have. We heard a scream and what I can only describe as you biting down on a chicken bone and hearing it snap and the slap of bone marrow on your plate. A crunch and splat of, her scream got cut short. We decided, duck this, and ran towards the door. I unlocked it and had to carry my girl because she looked back and saw this creature on all fours. She had frozen up. I looked back and saw this hunched figure with long claws, huge eyes, and a blood-splattered grin. It was pale and pretty big. It retreated back into the basement, and we managed to make it to her house. She was sobbing hysterically. She was even more scared because this happened in her forest behind her house. We called the cops. They went into the woods with dogs because we had mentioned the girl. The house wasn't in the woods, there never was one. There was no record of there ever being a house in those woods. We both got in trouble, but the cops saw our fear and hysteria. One of them talked to us and got really freaked out because my girl wouldn't stop sobbing. I could barely tell them, I really want answers, please help us.